Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial video. Today we're going to talk about the VLOOKUP function. This video was recorded in February 2021 using Excel 365. Now it's a really handy function, the VLOOKUP function. It's kind of fiddly, it's a bit confusing, and also it's quite hard to describe, but I'm going to give it a go. So the VLOOKUP function allows you to take a piece of data in one set of data, go to another set of data, find that corresponding matching piece of data, and based on that match, return other information. So if you look on screen here, what I'm going to endeavour to do is to fill all these gaps here, beginning with the data in this column. So the data in this column is the staff ID. If I go to my staff details, I can see that SM1 is also in this column, and SM1 ID corresponds to the staff name, staff member 1. This is the office they work in, this is when they started, this is the job title, and this is how many years they've been at the firm. So in my staff financials, I want to include the name, the start date, the office, and then some information on the office, in which case I've got to go to my office list worksheet and get some data based on this office code. So what a VLOOKUP allows you to do is it says, all right, SM1, find SM1 in another set of data and then return to me more information, different information based on that match. So let's go through some examples and see if we can get it, see if we can kind of make it a bit clearer. So we begin here in this blank cell where we want to bring the staff name. So we're going to our formula bar, we begin with an equals, we start typing VLOOKUP, and Excel will say, do you mean VLOOKUP? Yes, I do. Select that. There's 4 values that you need to put in the VLOOKUP function. The first value is, what are we going to use? What's the data we're going to use in order to go and find more data? And the data we're going to use is this field here. Then it says, all right, now I know my data. If I press comma, we're going to go to the table array, which is the next bit that says, now I know my data, where do you want me to look to return more data for you? So I want to go to my staff details tab, and I want to return data here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of this here. So I'm going to highlight the columns A to F, and you can see here staff details A to F. Now I'm going to tell you as I go kind of some important rules about this, but let me just do this as an example. If I press comma, the next thing says is, what piece of data do you want to return? Which column stores the data that you want to return? And in this example, I've started here, which is my first column, and I want to return the staff name, which is the second column. Okay, so I'll put a 2 in here. And the last thing, this range lookup, I don't know if you noticed at the time, but it was surrounded by square brackets, meaning that it is it's an optional parameter. So it's an optional value, but we're gonna give it a value of false. And what that means is, false means I want you to give me an exact match. So where I say look up SM1, I want you to only return a match which exactly matches SM1. If I do true, it does an approximate match, and I'm going to do some examples of that in a minute. But let's do false. Equally, we don't have to put false necessarily, we can just put 0, which is the equivalent of false. 1 is true, 0 is false. So let's just type false and then brackets and then press enter. Takes us back to our sheet, to the cell that I was in. It's returned staff member 1, and that is correct. That is my staff name. I'll just make that a little bit wider. If I double click now on my fill handle, it will copy that down, referencing correctly the cells to the left, so it moves it down each row, so it correctly references the rows. And there's all my staff names. Make that bigger. Now then, let's just do another example. I'm going to explain a bit more about it. So if we go to here and we start, okay, now we want to see the start date of our staff member. We're still going to use this field. This is the field we're going to use our lookup on. So let's start from here. We say equals VLOOKUP. What are we looking for? We're looking for this value. Press comma. Where are we looking? Let's go to our staff details table. And we're going to do it again from here along here. Now it's important now that I tell you that when you're doing the VLOOKUP, the leftmost column that you select as part of your range has to be the column that has the potentially matching value. In this case, it's the staff code or the staff ID. So when I'm doing my VLOOKUP looking for a staff ID or my staff code, my range, the left-hand column has got to store the value where I am looking for a match. So I can't do this, or because the lookup isn't here, it's not in this column, it's got to be in this column. So I've got to do this. Now I'm looking for, if I just do a comma, I'm looking for the start date, which is starting from my leftmost column here. It is 1, 2, 3, it's the fourth column. So if I put 4 and then comma, and then here I'll just put 0 for false because we want it to be an exact match. And here, okay, so that's quite interesting. Previously I've had text in this column, and so Excel has presumed there's only ever going to be text in this column. I need to reformat this column to allow a date. So I'm going to highlight my column, I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose format cells, and I'm going to select a date format. In fact, that default will do. Okay, so there's our date. Staff member 1, did they start on the 1st of the 1st, 2006? Yes, they did. So let us now just down here, and there's all of our start dates. Now let us go and do the final thing from the staff details list for now. So let's do it equals VLOOKUP. We're looking at that value. We're going to our, remember to put the comma in. We're going to our staff details. We're beginning with this column here because that's got this staff ID in. We don't need to go all the way across here. We can just go here. We know that that range contains the column that we want to return, and that's the third column. So back up to here, comma 3 for the third column, comma 0 to say exact match, and I'll bring that down here. So that's worked quite well. Now then, for the office description, we're now looking at this column as our lookup data, because we're not bothered about the staff ID anymore. We're looking at the office code. So to get the office description, we need to get it from this office list tab here. So let's do equals VLOOKUP. The lookup value is now this cell, comma. We're going to our office list. Now you'll notice here the office code is actually in column B, and like I said before, it has to be the leftmost column of your range, the column that you're doing your lookup on. So I'm going to begin here, and I'm going to bring it all across. We're looking to get the description, which is the second column. So if I come back up to my formula bar, press comma, column index number 2, press comma, 0 for an exact match, press enter, and we get an exact match. Now something worth noting now. This isn't data in a cell, it is a formula. So you see as I go down here, it is a formula, you can see that, it's a calculation. And it is live. So if I come to here, to my office list, and I change the word Liverpool to, if I get rid of a 0 in Liverpool, so it's spelt incorrectly. If I go back to here, all of the Liverpool references are now spelt incorrectly. And if I come back here and I fix this, and I come back here, it's all fixed and spelled correctly. So while you've got a VLOOKUP, the data is live. The data is referencing something else. So as soon as you change the thing it's referencing, the data within the VLOOKUP will change. So let's quickly just finish off the postcode on the head office. So if I just do equals VLOOKUP, we're looking at the code of the office. We're going to go to the office here, starting at the code column. We're going to go to, I'll just go to the postcode here, which is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back up to the formula bar, column 6, exact match. And what I could do here to get this, I could copy that. You've got to be very careful when you're copying and pasting in Excel. If I paste it in here and I say my array is going to go from B to H and I want column 6, that should return head office. There we go. So that's worked quite well. And that's the standard VLOOKUP. So now we're going to look at it a little bit. Instead of doing an exact match, we're going to do an approximate match. I want to show you a couple of examples of that. So here, in the banding column, we've got a salary here, and based on the salary, we've got a banding here to say whether it's above average, below average, or whether it is a manager. And the way we work that out is we've got a calculation here that is working out these figures. So let me just show you here. This is just 0. You can see this here is doing the sum of the salaries here, and then it's dividing it by the amount of salaries to get an average, and it's taking off 1. Okay, then this is doing the exact same thing but without the -1, and then this is saying get me the maximum value in here and take 1 off, and these two are saying get me the maximum value. So based on that, this is saying 0 to the average value -1, the average value to the maximum value -1, then the maximum value. And based on that, we're going to use these formulas to say whether a person is getting paid below the average, above the average, or whether they are a manager because they're getting paid the maximum. So let us do that. We start here, we say equals VLOOKUP. We're going to look at the salary field now here. And we are going to say our VLOOKUP range, if I press comma, is going to be M, N, and O. So now the reason it's, when I clicked on M, it highlighted all 3 is because this is merged, this cell. I could have gone here and I can kind of amend it and say MN, but MO is correct. Comma. The value I want to return is the 3rd column, 3, and then I want it to be an approximate match. So I'm going to put true or 1. Now also I need to do something here because I've messed things up ever so slightly. I'm just going to take this data here because this is messing up my figures a bit. So what this now is doing is it's saying look up this value in this set of data here. It's actually looking at this first column here. Like I said, it looks at the leftmost column. So look up this value here in the leftmost column and return for me the 3rd column based on an approximate match. So this value is 25,000. This value is 0. This is 33,980, and this is 75. So Excel cannot return a value in here for something that is greater than the lookup that you're looking at here. So it finds the approximate match that isn't greater than itself. So 25,000 is greater than 0, but it's less than this 33,980. So it returns the 3rd column from this cell here. This here should go no match, no, oh, I found a match. It should return manager. And then if we find something like this 35,000 should say it's greater than that, it's greater than that, it's less than that. So I want to return this because that's the match that I'm greater than this, less than that. So that's the match I've got. So if I just check that, you'll see anything that's 75,000 is a manager. This one here that's 35,000 is above average because it is in the above average column. And anything other, there's other values there that are below average, as you can see. So let's have a little bit of a play with the data and see how we can kind of get it to change. So if I go to here and I change that to be 17,000, well, slightly before I do that, you see this here, this value here for staff number 5, 33,500 is below average. When I change this value here from 40 to 17, it's going to change all the average bandings. And this should become above average. So if I press enter, it's changed all of these because all of these are dynamic because they are looking at formulas rather than data. So then it's come to here now, and this value here, 33,500, is now above average because of the changes in other people's salaries, changing the average bandings. So now let's do a couple more things. If we just do a quick years in service check for this staff member, so equals VLOOKUP, staff ID 1, comma, let's go to our staff details. Years in service is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to return the 6th, and we want an exact match because we're looking at this SN1 figure, and there's our years in service. Now, let me show you a couple of things. Our year in service column is dynamic, so I've created something called DATEDIF. Well, I haven't created DATEDIF. DATEDIF is part of Excel, but it's a function that says, give me one date, give me another date, give me a type, like a date part that you want to check the difference of. So DATEDIF says, this is the start date, this is an end date, how many years in this case are between those two dates. I could change that to a single M to say how many months are between these two dates, or a D for how many days. I'm interested in years, and that's returned me from the 1st of the 1st, 2006 to today, which is right now, how many years between these two dates, and it's 15 years, and then you can see all the rest of the dates here. So this is dynamic again. So if I run this in 3 years' time, these figures should all change by 3 years. So now let's go back to this staff financials page, and we look at this bonus. So I messed things up by having this bonus bandings below my salary bandings because when I was doing this lookup here and it was looking up 25,000, it was looking on these, but also it was looking on these bits here, which is why very briefly I got the wrong figure. So if we come back to here and we say, okay, equals VLOOKUP, and we're looking up years in service, comma, and we're looking up our bonus bandings, which is QRNS, comma, we want to return the 3rd column, comma, and we want an approximate match. So we're going to say true or 1. So if we just run this down here, this person here has been here 15 years, which is greater than 10 years, so they get the maximum £8,000. This person here has been here 8 years, which is greater than 5 but less than 10, so they get the £5,000. And this person here has been here 3 years, which is greater than 0, less than 5 here rather, so they get the £3,000 bonus. And one last thing, so you've got your data here based on the VLOOKUP. This works with any formulas. Imagine actually I don't want this to be a VLOOKUP anymore. I just want to see the data, the actual results of the data, so that it could, I don't want it to kind of change if I start playing about with other things. So if I right click on this and I choose to copy, you can see I've got the little dotted line around it. If I right click again and I choose to paste, I've got options of pasting, and one of the options is values. So if I choose paste values, you'll now see that this is a value. It's now taken away the formula and just put in the actual value of the result of that formula. So it is no longer dynamic. So if I make changes here, or as these years change, this is no longer dynamic, and it will never change anymore until you've actually put a formula back in. Now then, that's the end of this video on VLOOKUPs. I hope it made sense, and I hope you found it helpful.